Okay, so everyone, we're going to have a look at this one using Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so I have opened up a blank A4 document and I've gone to File, Place, and I'm going to draw a logo, and it's one that I found already. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this object, and the idea is to get the heads of the pistons so that they are straight, so we can just draw them with a rectangle and then we'll put it back. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer and lock off the original and then draw a rectangle around it. Okay, I'm going to change the fill to nothing and the stroke, which is a line around the edge, to red. Okay, and then I'm just going to adjust it so that it fits into where the corners are. Next, I'm going to select the pen tool, and by doing that I can now add points to where these are. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them up. I'm going to select the bottom one and the top one together, and I'm going to use the coordinates to make sure that they are in line, and I'm going to do the same with the other side. Okay, use the coordinates to make sure that they're level vertically, and then I'm going to do the same with the other one. Select the 4 points in the middle and convert them to a smooth selection so that it curves. I'm also going to do that with the corner pieces. Not at this moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw another rectangle. I'm going to set it so it's roughly the right height, and then I'm going to check what the height is. So it's 4.6987, so I'm going to change that to 4.6 so it's easy to work out half. And I'm going to go to Effect, Stylize, and then round corners. I'm going to pick half the height of the rectangle, so 2.3, so then it should give us a nice curve. I'm going to copy and paste that shape. I'm going to put it in for the second one. As you can see, I'm making it much more simplistic than the one that I'm tracing. Okay, much more logo-like. So with my pathfinder up, I'm going to select take away front objects, and I've not applied the curves. So let's undo it. We'll go to expand appearance so it will keep the curves, and we'll do it again. Okay, so this pathfinder tab is awesome. I'm going to get the pen tool and I'm going to create some extra points. I'm going to start to draw lines in for these. It's a bit tricky to make sure you get the right thing. You've got to make sure you get the anchor, not the intersection, or you end up with too many points. And then using my selection tool, I'm going to draw around them, join them together, and then use the editing tool to delete these lines. Okay, so if I bring these down, and I'm going to make sure that they're at the right place and the right sort of height. I'm going to convert them to a smooth selection, and I'm going to use these handles to be able to curve the lines. Okay, and if I hold down shift, I'll be able to put those up vertically. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try it this way first. Try drawing it all. I might end up just doing half, but we'll see how it goes. It's a bit more of a tricky shape, this. Okay, so with that selected, it's going to end up being quite an issue to get that to get all those points level and all those points where they should be. So what I think I will probably do is, so I'm going to draw half of it and delete that other half, and I'm going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to go to mirror, which you can either right click on the object for, or you can go to object, transform, reflect, and just you either click OK or copy, depending if you want to obviously duplicate it. So when you drag that there, it's not perfectly straight because obviously the original was hand drawn. So I'm going to move that there, and we'll end up making a few changes to this to get everything where we want it. It's not, because we haven't got the same object, it's not happy with that. So now we've joined it together, and just delete those lines out the middle. We've also got some kind of weird extra line going down the side, which we'll have to get rid of. In the meantime, we'll draw that circle. Okay, just give it a different colour. We'll fill it, but you can see what's gone on before has messed up our shape ever so slightly, so we just need to go in and select that line that's causing us problems. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to select all the objects and do the pathfinder again. So I'm going to have to join them and then take that away. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate our image back. So it looks straight, and then I'm going to rotate our shape so that it is straight. And I'll just put it exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to take the stroke off and I'm going to fill it with black. And we'll keep it red for now actually, because it's easy to see. And then we're going to reflect, and this time we're going to copy, and then on this second one we're just going to move it across. Okay, so it sits where we want it to. Okay, so we've got the first part of the logo. Okay, the second one, I'm just going to start out with the pen tool, and I'm going to just make some points where I think they need to be. We can add them and take them away later. I'm just going to create a new layer and paste it back on because I never did that. Okay, take the fill out and we'll add a stroke, different colour this time, and I'm going to change all of these points to smooth selection. So obviously, as you see, it will make the shape look pretty not like it's supposed to at the moment, but when I move the handles, if I hold down Alt, it will then, it kind of breaks the bezier handles so that you can use one at a time rather than doing them both. If you do them both, you'll never get the exact shape that you want. Okay. And when you're following a shape in Illustrator, I always find it better to afterwards hide the thing you're tracing and just make sure that all the lines are right, because it's easy to not notice if two curves don't join very well, as you will probably see. From here, so we can just go in there, just put that back as a proper corner, and then just check that we've got all of our curves fit nicely, and then I'm going to use the pen tool again. Just make rough idea of the shape so that it would come out of the side of this one, and make these as soft selection as well. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm drawing the shape that needs to be taken out as a separate object. So then we can just use the pathfinder again to take one from another. It really makes it a lot easier to set that up. Okay, so it's starting to look like the right shape. Then we hide the background and we just tweak these curves. If the curves don't match perfectly the original, it's not a massive problem. It's not a major logo that we're trying to recreate, it's just an idea. Okay, so I'm just going to test that so that it looks right, and then with the layers I'm going to cut out what's on that layer and paste it into this one. So we're using that top layer just as a working area, and we can use the pathfinder. So that's the first one done, and we're going to do exactly the same thing with the second one. Hopefully go a little bit quicker. So you can see when I start to move it, it pauses for a bit and then kind of breaks. It's because it wants you to move them both at the same time. If you hold, like I say, if you hold down Alt and you click and drag, it will let you move one at a time. Okay, so we get a rough shape, hide the background, and then we go back to these, make sure that we get a nice flow with the curves. And we'll put that back, move it on to there, use the pathfinder again. Then we move on to the last one. Just tweak down. We'll go back to the pen tool on our free layer. We'll just do the last one. It should be a lot quicker because the lines look mostly straight. It's also a lot smaller. Okay, so you can see it doesn't really matter what it looks like once it gets outside the shape, because that bit's just going to go. Make sure it's on the right layer. Oops, that wasn't very good. Let's get the whole thing this time. Paste it in, move it to where we want it, and then use the pathfinder to take one away from the other. And then we can now start to fill that one with red and take away the stroke, and it should match in with that. And obviously we want to, so we'll copy it and we'll put it over the other side. Okay, so for the next one we're going to look at these like teardrop kind of effects. Okay, they are not very straight or very even in this, and we're looking at more of a logo that we can reuse, so as it goes over the shape we're going to realise that it's not perfect. So we're going to use the X coordinates to see how far it is away from that centerpiece and then work it out. So we'll enter the X coordinates as something as like a whole number, so it's easy to work out. So if that one's going to be 108, which is 5 more, this one needs to be 98, which is 5 less. Okay. just going to make these into smooth selections, and it almost does the shape for us, so I'm not going to mess about with that. I'm going to copy and paste it and make this one smaller, and if we have snap on, it should allow us to snap to the same line as the other one. Now I want to check it, but it should be fine. Okay. I'm going to put all these onto one layer now before we move on to the text. We've got a separate layer called logo. Okay, so find a font. Doesn't matter necessarily which font you have. I found one I think looks similar. Chances are the one in the original was drawn, but this one is called Chibold. I think it gives a similar effect. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to recreate the text, select the panel, and then we're going to choose our font, wherever that went. Make it a similar sort of size, and then just check everything else, and then we're going to go to Object, Envelop and Warp Distort. So as one of the options in Warp Distort, as you will see, we have arc. So I think 50% is probably about right there. Yeah, that looks alright. So we'll click OK, and we'll just shrink it down so that it's roughly the right sort of size. And we can, if we double click, we can go into our text and we can still edit it as text. Okay, so we can just make the text a bit bigger whilst keeping the same distort settings. Okay, so just check that it's all as you want it, and then on the top you need to go back into the actual logo object. You see on the right, all the layers are different. So if we go back to the logo, we've got it with the actual text applied. But again, if you look on the right hand side, we've still got the different layers. So if we go back over to the left, we can come back out into our main scene, hide our original background, and then there's a few things we can do. We can export. We want all sorts of different files, file types there. The other thing that we can do is that we can copy, and we can paste it into Photoshop as a smart object if you wanted to incorporate it into that. So I will show you that. If we create something of HD size, and paste that into there, it'll give us the option to paste as a smart object, which means that we can use the vector qualities of it until we're happy, and then we can rasterize it. Okay, so once it applies that, it does sometimes say waiting for libraries, but you can stop that and it will still do it. I don't know if it's just me, but my Photoshop pauses quite a lot. There you go.